Okay, now I may not look it, but I'm actually quite experienced in this industry. I've seen over a decade of stuff, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the video game industry is absolutely weird. What's obvious to us as consumers is not obvious to companies. By that, I mean like, hey, Nintendo, you're doing Breath of the Wild 2 in a year or so. Maybe you should do a Zelda collection, right? Makes so much sense. Great revenue generator. They do Skyward Sword. Okay, man. Okay. Sword and Shield, right? This is a Pokemon game. First one coming to Nintendo Switch. We see Breath of the Wild and think, wow, they must be doing this with Pokemon. And then it looks like a 3DS game. But in the last 24 hours, it feels like we are no longer within this bubble. Like companies and consumers are on the same wavelength because we're getting a Pokemon open world game. But more topically for this channel, we are actually learning that Dragon Age 4 is going to be fully single player. Now, I saw a lot of people online like going, yes, this is great. And obviously, conceptually, that is a single player only game. That is relieving. But once you read the article that we're going to be sourcing in today's video, I'm actually quite concerned about Dragon Age 4. Surprise, surprise. I know. But I mean, seriously speaking, there are some things within this article indicating that this game has been in flux for a while. They've gone back and forth on development choices, directions with the game, and I can't help but feel not too encouraged by what has been displayed here. The good news is they came to a proper conclusion that I think will please many fans. But does that make it a good game? We will discuss that in today's video because Dragon Age 4 got a very big update and it is going to be a single player only game. This information comes from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier. I'll have that linked in the description down below. Let's get to reading where the article is titled, Electronic Arts Removes Multiplayer Mode from Dragon Age Game in Big Pivot. Video game publisher Electronic Arts Incorporated has made a major pivot on the next game in the popular Dragon Age series, allowing the developers to remove all planned multiplayer components from the game, according to people familiar with the matter. Dragon Age is a series of fantasy games from the EA-owned developer BioWare. The next Dragon Age, which doesn't have an official title or release date, has been previously designed with a heavy multiplayer component, said the people who asked not to be named because they were not authorized to speak to the press. In recent months, it has transformed into a single-player only game after EA was stung by a recent multiplayer flop. See, a lot of people went, why didn't EA just eat the cost? Why didn't they just go ahead and let Anthem live? This is, I hate to sound insensitive, but like, this is a good thing. Like, Anthem served for something good at this point in time, which is putting BioWare on track. Enough with the multiplayer bullshit. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Not even because of Anthem, right? Forget Anthem. But since Mass Effect 3, we've seen BioWare, tinker with multiplayer modes. And if it's like Mass Effect 3 multiplayer mode, I'm cool with it. But Dragon Age Inquisition tried it. It was absolutely terrible. I have no idea what was in the game for. And then we had Andromeda, which the gameplay was the star of that title. So the multiplayer wasn't too bad. But Mass Effect had a working formula. Dragon Age does not have that. Anthem, yes, that should have been the roadblock right there. No more multiplayer. It does not work. This is not a multiplayer studio, even if we're accounting for the fact that, hey, winds of change have blown through BioWare. They're no longer the same one from 2003, Matty. Yeah, I get it. They are not, at their DNA, a multiplayer studio. That's not what people like their games for. It's not what their best work is. They are a single-player studio. This is good news. But how in the absolute fuck anyone thought it was a good idea to start going down that path, I don't remotely understand. Because yeah, revenue generation, sure, I've been around for a while, I can tell you want to make your money, but what the actual hell, man? Like, how does it get to that point? That's what's more baffling to me. So many people were, yes, relieved, but as we'll continue to read, this was a decision that was recently made, and it took the absolute crippling failure of Anthem to go, maybe not. The diverging trajectories of two recent games changed the minds of Wilson and other executives at EA, according to the people. One was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a single-player game released in November 2019 that won critical acclaim and outperformed EA's sales expectations, reaching more than 10 million players in its first 4 months. The second was BioWare's Anthem, a multiplayer game that was widely panned when it launched. The game showed that the single-player games could still be lucrative, and that BioWare, traditionally known for its single-player role-playing games, might be better off returning to its roots. A spokesman for EA declined to comment. This is why I say, man, Jedi Fallen Order, best Star Wars game since KOTOR. There are a lot of phenomenal games in between there that I adore so much. But Jedi Fallen Order's influence is being felt throughout the industry, and now we're seeing what I think is going to be its most major impact. It has brought BioWare back to the single-player space. So, fortunately, this game did well, and it showed EA what a lot of other studios around the industry know at this point in time, which is that single player games still very much are profitable. It's all about managing those assets. How much do you want to spend versus how much you plan to get? And with game prices going up, it's probably a little more attractive at this point in time because development's becoming more and more money to say, hey, we could try a single player game now. I mean, BioWare's formula works. They're in a rare space with, I'd say, Bethesda game studios where they can release a single player game. People will play it for years and years, talk about it for years and years, and expansions, DLC, that type of stuff keeps those games afloat. That's what BioWare needs to tap into. I'm telling you, man, like if they just go the Bethesda route in some ways, they are golden. They are well known for their games. They are provided a luxury that not many teams have. I was thinking about this the other day. BioWare is in a very special position. So many teams try RPG elements, RPG mechanics, making big RPGs. I think of Greedfall, for example. Greedfall did well enough, but it kind of came and went. That is a game that was super ambitious for the studio that worked on it. Spiders, typically a AA studio, really pushed the boundaries of what a AA game can be. And that came and went despite it putting everything on the table. I look at that versus BioWare, who has continuously failed. They're in a very lucky position to still have the attention and the desire for people to play their games like they do. So yeah, they need to absolutely take hold of all this potential and run with it to make a very powerful Dragon Age 4 video game. Now here's where the concerning stuff I feel steps in. The next Dragon Age first entered development in 2015, but in the fall of 2017, EA and BioWare rebooted the game for long-term monetization. The change led to the departure of creative director Mike Laidlaw and caused some employees to dismiss the game as Anthem with Dragons. EA announced the new Dragon Age game in 2018, but has not shared many details since then. Behind the scenes, the game has been in flux, game website Kotaku has reported. So some people called me a hater. This is exactly what I meant when they announced Dragon Age 4 and they showed off those BS prototype trailers. I went, what is this? What are you doing? There is no need to show this. And now it's being shown why. The game, they have no idea what it was going to be, especially when it was announced. Maybe now they have a clue. But back then, when we were seeing it for the first time, they had no clue, right? They were still figuring things out. A common mistake BioWare makes. From Andromeda to Dragon Age 4, and especially Anthem being the most egregious one where they didn't even have a name for the game until a couple of days before its reveal at E3. That's insane to think about. So that is what is worrying to me, is that we're seeing BioWare make the same mistake again, right? They've announced the game, they've created some semblance of, not expectations in the terms of quality, but what to expect in the universe, what to expect with storytelling. And I think maybe they will still be able to reach that, but to achieve that, they have to rework the game now. And you know, as much as I do like aspects of Inquisition, that had 2 MMO directors on it. Those hirings are very telling, right? Hirings for games are probably the most telling sources of info that you can gather from it. Fortunately, for what I've seen, Dragon Age 4 has none of that. But when it came to Inquisition, that game had a good story, but it was just fluffed to the max with all of those miscellaneous objectives that you needed to grind out to get power to then get to the good bits of the story. This may sound like it's off topic, but same thing with Fallout 4. When they hired a first-person shooter specialist from Bungie, of all places, I mean, you look at Fallout 4 shooting, it is not the best in the industry, but when you compare it to Fallout 3 in New Vegas, it is an absolutely massive improvement. So in the case of staff leaving, calling it Anthem with Dragons, take those words at face value. And in fact, I want to show you one thing I noticed when reading Mike Laidlaw's exiting post compared to that of Mark Dara, who recently left at the end of 2020, is the similar wording structure, the kind of, now I would say, false encouragement. So let's just read Mike Laidlaw's and then we'll read Mark Dara's and we'll sort of compare the word choice in a particular paragraph. So Mike Laidlaw says, "Hey everyone, it's with a mix of emotions that I'm announcing my time with BioWare has ended. After 14 years and a chance to work on Jade Empire, Mass Effect, and all things Dragon Age, it's time for me to move on. In my time at BioWare, I've been lucky to work with some of the most talented and hardworking people in the industry. It's been an honor to be a part of the Dragon Age team, and I have every confidence that the world we've created together is in good hands, and I'm excited for the road ahead. For the near future, I plan to spend some time reconnecting with all the amazing games and worlds that my peers have created, and I look forward to sharing those experiences with all of you on Twitch and Twitter. To everyone who's taken the time to share feedback and experiences, your amazing cosplays and artistic creations, thank you. You've made my time in Thetis amazing. Your passion inspires, and I look forward to our next adventure together." Meanwhile, when we saw Mark Dara leave, He said specifically, Dragon Age will be in good hands. Christian Daly will be moving into the executive producer role. Christian Daly is a strong leader and will provide great insight into the rest of the Dragon Age leadership who remain. This is a team that includes people with decades of experience at BioWare. I am confident that together, this team can make the next Dragon Age the best one yet. You see like the similarity here of like it's all gonna be okay. It's great. Like, it's in good hands as they leave because the vision is evolving out of what they wanted. Like, it shines a whole new light on what's actually being said there if you read between the lines. So, I don't know, man. A lot of people were really celebrating online, and I am absolutely thrilled, by the way. It's not that I'm disappointed, like, how could you not do multiplayer BioWare? I mean, I think my rant in the beginning of the video speaks for itself. I am thrilled that they are not doing that. But at the end of the day, it's the fact that it was a thought, right? You considered it, you made the wise choice, but it was a thought that was then pursued and worked on and forced and probably jammed in to a point where it wouldn't work. Because the way I look at it is, how does Dragon Age get monetized? Unless you do what a lot of these games are doing, which is this, we're going to tell you a story and then do content for years and years and years. I mean, yeah, it sounds great on paper, but it usually leads to some type of incomplete story or huge droughts, and just give me the full game, right? So hopefully we're getting that. We still got a little bit more to read, so let's keep going. During development, some members of BioWare's leadership team fought to pivot the next Dragon Age back to single player only, according to people familiar with the discussions. BioWare has also been working on a new game in the sci-fi Mass Effect series, as well as a remaster of the original Mass Effect trilogy, which will be out in May. Here's where it gets really important. The next Dragon Age is seen as critical to the future of BioWare after its last two games, Anthem and 2017's Mass Effect Andromeda, were both critical flops. This week, EA canceled a planned improved version of Anthem called Anthem Next, which we have a video about on the channel. We just did that yesterday. The team of about 30 people that worked on the game was told it will now help develop the next Dragon Age, according to people familiar with the matter, which is good. This is what I said in my video yesterday about Anthem. The good news of that cancellation, if anything, is that you're going to get more hands on deck for whatever is happening with Dragon Age. 30 more people, that's a lot that can actually be accomplished, believe it or not. But more importantly is the wording here. The next Dragon Age is critical. I've said it time in, time out. No one seems to be catching on. They need to get this right. Not because we want to get it right, because we want to love Dragon Age. They need to get it right because I think the clock can be ticking for them. I really find it hard to envision EA coming in and saying, we're going to shut BioWare down. But it is a case where right now we're looking at 3 strikes and you're out. They failed twice. Third strike, they can go, hey, we're going to consolidate you and put you on EA Sports and just go all in on that. They will operate as a business, okay? Think of how much convincing and years of work it took to get them to say you can do a single player game when they had predominantly single player series. When the reason they were acquired, granted it was older leadership, the reason they were acquired was because of their single player games. Think of how much they had to go through and the absolute flop of a game and then a critical failure of a game they had to go through to get it single player. Okay, so it is not out of the realm of possibility that EA just treats this like business as usual and goes, hey, we cut down Visceral Games, we're going to cut you down as well, BioWare. And that would be really sad. I know a lot of people like to trash on BioWare. I get it. I understand. But we want BioWare around. We want BioWare to live on. You want BioWare to get healthy. You want BioWare to get their single player stuff right. Because when BioWare is healthy, I mean, we do not want to see more consolidation efforts in the industry where we're going to chop down yet another single player potential studio and see them be rolled into the rest of Ultimate Team and EA's live services with Apex Legends and stuff. We've seen so many great ideas get lost. Granted, it was a multiplayer game, but I always think of Paragon. This was a third-person MOBA that had a lot of potential coming from Epic. And while it didn't catch on fire, it had a player base. It absolutely did. And guess what they did? Fortnite got so popular, they shut down Paragon, rolled everyone into Fortnite. And yeah, Fortnite's massively popular. And yeah, it is way more popular than Paragon ever would have been. But this is the type of stuff that you don't want to encourage. Yeah, you may right now be sitting here pissed off, angry at BioWare and everything they've done. And I'm right there with you, standing right next to you. I agree. They have screwed up immensely and they've treated some of my favorite series like absolute dog shit. But at the end of the day, we want them to live on. We want them to actually achieve what they possibly can, because when they're healthy, I think it makes for a more competitive industry, right? Because I think when CD Projekt Red, for example, was rising up and doing really well, I think that pushes someone like Bethesda, because they were challenged with Fallout 4 versus The Witcher 3. That was a big thing in the industry for a while. The Witcher 3 absolutely dismantled Fallout 4 in a lot of ways. And so now we're seeing what happened with Cyberpunk, and now it's Bethesda's turn to bounce back maybe. And so I just think competition is good. We want BioWare to try to succeed. We don't want to wish for their failures at the end of the day. So that's enough from me. I leave it in your hands now. What do you think about all of this? Fire away in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And I'll talk with you very soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.